Thank, I think it's on. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Cindy. This is Camera. Welcome to the WCAP. This is the Kam Kay Show. Today is Tuesday, August the 9th, if my memory serves me right. Yeah, August the 9th for the Kam Kay Show. I have a lot of topic to discuss today, listing from variety of issues that I'm looking at here. So this weekend, it's been about I guess it's about 2 weeks now since the Lawson last criticized me for being very outspoken or hammering, according to their word, against Radimam participation in the Cambodian politics, which he said that he does not want to have any practices over there. Is like 5,000 miles away. Unfortunately, this past weekend, a couple of weeks ago, Radimam have made it publicly on his social media, including one of the media outlet in Cambodia, that he went to meet the Prime Minister from Cambodia. Of course, we all know he's a tyrant, he's a communist, he does not want anybody to challenge him in regarding to that. It's been 2 weeks. Neither the Lawson or its editorial board have said anything about it. And fortunately, this weekend I had the opportunity to meet two gentlemen who were released from jail. They were political prisoners. They were released from jail. One of them spent a little bit over 2 years behind bars, and the other one is a little bit of 3 years behind bars, being a political prisoner and an activist in regarding to that. So one of the gentlemen by the name of Omsaman, he was a former member of parliament, was arrested because he dared to challenge the right usage of the measurement on the Prime Minister. So in about a week after he went back from he got from the United States and went back to Cambodia. In the middle of the night, they went and have him arrested for challenging the authority of the Prime Minister and saying that he was inciting, that it was not right, that he was being very critical of the King, the Majesty, because the King Majesty have agreed to the border demarcation between between Vietnam and Cambodia. And the other gentleman was, his name was Ms. Vanara. He's a political activist. He was also arrested twice. The first one, he was arrested being a member of a union for speaking out and demanding that the garment workers to get paid at $160 a month, and during that time they were only paid about $80 a month in terms of American dollars. So they did a lot of protests on that, and somehow there was one of the protesters, a couple of protesters, and the police were gotten into an altercations. So the Prime Minister have Mr. Vanara arrested for inciting to overthrow the government. So, and the second one, that he was arrested because let me see where I have my note here, because he wanted to have more freedom for the people. And of course he got arrested again, but somebody did some sort of incitement, and the government accused him of trying to overthrow. These are the ordinary people who have no weapons, no knives, no guns, no nothing. All they do is just walking around chanting, demanding for better freedom, better access to all the resources that is available in regarding to that. On top of that, these two gentlemen were here this weekend. What they did for the Cambodian community, did have a reception for him. On top of it, the Massachusetts State Senate had issued 2 citations to both of them for Mr. Vanara and Member of Parliament Omsaman, including the city of Lowell and from Nikki Songus from the U.S. Congress itself. But one thing I was so curious and said, of all those have been given it to him, why was there no state house citation that was given it to them? So I reached out to a couple of folks who have some of the knowledge regarding to that. They said they just did not want it to bother, knowingly that they may be able to get those citation and recognition of that, but there's a likely chances that Representative Roddy Mom will get a lot of hand slap from his followers and his supporters to issue a citation for the freedom release of these two political prisoners. After all, if you guys may have been aware that Roddy Mom, when he first elected to the state house, went to Cambodia. Mind you, people, I wanted to emphasize this again. It's not the handshake that Roddy Mom have led everybody to believe that the Cambodian community was so ticked off in regarding to that. But it was more or less, when Roddy Mom was there, he told Hun Sen, a tyrant, to be known as Prime Minister, said he wanted him to be his political mentor. How can you ask somebody who have been known to as a former Khmer Rouge leader and have suppressed the people only to give the money and accesses to the rich and the few and all of that, be the mentor when we are living in the United States? It's nothing but freedom. That would go against everyone else philosophy in terms of freedom. We all came to the United States based on one thing and one thing only, was to escape tyranny and oppressors. And the last thing we wanted to do is to have the first state representative in the United States that was born in Cambodia to go back in Cambodia to be salivated over someone that we have risked our lives to become the citizens of this great nation. And so, having said that, I'm going to go ahead and stop right there. Then there's so much more stuff that I wanted to go through, but I just wanted to go ahead and go in briefly stating a couple of things, and probably the next week's show I can be able to bring that up. As you guys have may have been aware that President Barack Obama have tweeted out to endorse with a lot of political candidates in the Democratic have actually endorsed not just a state, not just a federal candidates, but it's also come all the way down to the state level here, to at least a state representative. That begs the question: is that will Donald Trump be able to come out and endorse some of the candidates at a local level or not? And the other one, as we all know, that Charlie Baker is one of the most popular Republican governor from the state of Massachusetts. Does he have a coattail in order to endorse some of the local candidates, such as John McDonnell or Rick Green or Jeff Deal, Anthony Amori, and so forth? The next one here on my list is that, as you guys have heard this morning or read in the news, that Nikki Haley, the UN ambassador from the United States, have submitted her letter of resignation to the president, where she will leave her office by the end of the year. And the number 4, as we all know, that Judge Brett Kavanaugh has been confirmed and sworn in to be the next Associate Associate Justice for the Supreme Court of the United States. Number 5, as we have known, that the United States and the Chinese government have been battling each other in regarding to the tariff issues and so forth. As of late, that I read a couple of news this morning that the Chinese officials have asked Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to repair the relationship between the two nations by stopping to criticize of Beijing in terms of tariffs in favoring of Taipei, which is Taiwan. And some of the issue that the United States have with Chinese government or Beijing is in regarding to the South China Sea, That's number one. Number two is about the technology and intellectual property rights that we have always known in the past 20, 30 years that the Chinese company and its government have sanctioned such a stealing of those intellectual property. And the third one, that the American government have approved the sales of some of the military weapons to Taiwan. I'm not sure why the Chinese have an issue with that when they did not have an issue with President Obama allowed the selling of 40 of the F-16 Falcons fighter jets to Vietnam, which I think is much more of a dangerous to many of the Southeast Asian countries like Cambodia, Burma, Thailand, and Singapore, and some other companies regarding to that. And each one of those airplanes costs about $1 million. And now it's the last thing that I wanted to bring in, and plus we have such an honored guest to be here to answer some of the questions that what Ryan Johnson have talked about it earlier, and then he was on with UTL Radio with Paul Georges and Teddy Panos in talking about the issue of what is going on. So tonight it's my honor to have Dr. Salah Kafawi, who is currently the school superintendent for a Lowell Public School. I know some of you guys may disagree with me, but he still is the superintendent of Lowell Public School, unless otherwise noted. Some of the things that I've been following in regarding to the news here since in the summer has always been questionable, it's always been head scratcher or hair pulling. Had I had any more hair, Dr. Kafawi, I would have pulled all my hair out of that, right? So some of those things that I saw on the Lowell Sun, such a phrases that were being used was hostile environment, gag orders, and some of the damage to his reputation. Let me talk about the third point about the damage to his reputations. By trade, I work in the risk management. Reputation is probably the number one thing in the world that many companies, not just a small one, not just a big one, I should say not many, but all companies, the only thing that they worry about beside the product is their reputation. Without their reputations, they're not going to have the future of their own. Without the product is going to be being pushed out, if all the salespeople is going to go out and start selling the product, and many potential customers said, hey, I remember what happened with your company, I don't know if I wanted to do business with you anymore. And so that in that case alone, take a look at the situation with Dr. Kafawi, is that at the issue from what the city has been doing to him, the school committee, the mayor Bill Samaras, and so forth, it to me it's just very extremely mind-boggling how some elected official would look at the manner, not just in a political very constructive criticism of Dr. Kafawi. To me, it's more probably of a personal thing that they're looking at. I mean, yes, I've watched Dr. Kafawi since the day that he went to get an interview with many of those folks at the City Hall. Yes, some of them I do admit that I disagree with some of the stuff he did, but at the end of the day, he has more of the intimate knowledge on the executions of those projects, those tasks, better than I could. I'm just the outside looking at it and said, I would have not done what he has done. Of course, you know, a Monday night quarterback is always better than the guys are playing, struggling, getting hit like there's no tomorrow. And so I'm going to turn the attention to Dr. Kafawi here of that here. I'm going to go ahead and read and summarize of trying to looking at since happening in the summer of this year here. So the first time I heard about the issue here that Dr. Kafawi was going to be leaving the Lowell Public School. He was one of the top 3 candidates to take over the Randolph Public School over there. And then about 2 days later, the Lawson said no, he changed his mind in order to stay here because the majority of the school committee members have asked him to stay because there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done in order to accomplish. And then 2 days later, I guess by Friday, correct me if I'm wrong on that, the Lawson came out another article and said, well, there's a plenty of motion submitted to have you terminated. I mean, isn't it fun? Correct me if I'm wrong about this, Dr. Kafawi. Wasn't it sometime at the beginning of this year or last year they gave you a 3-year contract because they love your performance? And why is it all of a sudden 4 months later and they said, well, you've done a terrible thing, so we're going to go ahead and terminate you?
No, thank you, Camera, for having me first. I appreciate that. I'm going to have to answer. Some of them might not be in detail, obviously, because a lot of these things will come out in the hearing through my attorney. But just to try to respond to you with respect to the timeline that you cited, yes, it sometimes in the summer, I think after 6 months with the new school committee team, I think it became very clear to not just to me but to my team as well that we were being tied down, really tied down, and more than 50% of our time was being preoccupied answering reports and so forth, and not really paying attention to the schools. And that's not right, because we wanted to focus on the schools. So I think I talked about it at length with my team, and we all felt the same way that that environment was no longer an environment that is conducive to good, effective management and helping our schools. So I thought, these things happen. It's really not a problem. We have 350 districts around in the state, and it's not really uncommon that the CEO may no longer be aligned with the school committee, not necessarily has nothing to do with the efficiency of work or how well they can do their work. So I thought voluntarily I looked at other opportunities, and as you mentioned, I was a finalist in one district, one of 3, and whatever one can comment on that, it's still a third chance, that you could get it. And so I proceeded to notifying the chair, which is the mayor. I notified him via letter, via email, that I was a finalist, and in a few days, or I don't know how long it took them actually from my letter to release my name, and that I'm going to be pursuing that opportunity, and should it work out, we will make sure to have a proper transition, and should it not work out, I will continue to look for other opportunities, and we'll keep them informed.
Okay.
So that was my train of thought, and then immediately after that, a few days later, I did notify a lot of my team as well, and a lot of people were upset. I think the majority of my team, I would say almost everybody on my team, was really saddened by the news, and everybody was trying to convince me to change my mind. I received several phone calls from several city councilors, school committee members that supported me, parents, teachers, when the rumor started going out, and then it was no longer a rumor, it was in the newspapers.
Right.
And so there was a lot of pressure for me to stay. So I heard from 3 of the school committee members, and then all of them really wanted me to give it another try, and let's work out the differences, and let's focus on what we can do together as opposed to what divides us. And then I was talking to a 4th one. I had a meeting on Monday. I was on my way to the conference. I had a meeting on Monday, and I think as a result of my discussion with the 4th one, the mayor, it was very clear to me that the words that he used for me was that we still have some challenges to fix in the schools, and I strongly believe that if we challenge them with you, it will be better than without you.
Okay.
I turned around and thanked him for his support, and I said, I thank you for your support, and I will certainly give it a very, very serious thought, and I did. And then I went down to the conference. We had an urban school meeting on Tuesday. We were busy from morning to late evening, and then first thing that I had any time free on Wednesday, I did the right thing by notifying the Randolph school districts to be, it's the last thing you have to do that, and notify them that I'm going to give it another try, Lowell. We have a lot of work to finish, and I think I owe it to the school, to the parents, and to give it one more try, since 4 members are willing to work with me. And I did that, and then I notified everybody, and I notified the chair, I notified the mayor, I notified the Lowell Sun, because they were asking me, and I notified the Patch, the newspaper there, and that's really what had happened. So I was all excited about, right, let's give it another try. This is going to be a new year, and let's put all our differences aside, and let's focus on what's unite us. And I mean, one thing we all know we have in common, even though we might disagree, we all have one thing in common, is that we all want the schools to succeed.
Correct.
And we all want the kids to have the best schools possible. So we could all hang on that and try to do something good. So I did that, and then that was a Wednesday, and to my surprise, on Friday I was sitting that morning right before leaving the conference. It ends in the morning, and I was seated, and I got the emails, because I get copied on the motions when they're posted, that I saw those motions. So I was really as surprised as anybody else. I had no idea that something like that would come out. Between that and the actual Wednesday where the vote was taken, there was an outpouring of support, as you saw it, from the community, from the parents, from everybody else, and I was very much curious as anybody else to know what is really the reason.
Right. I was shocked, to be honest with you. And
you were there, right?
Right, and it was just like I don't even know how to express myself looking at you the way they're dragging your name, not physically, your name through the mud here. How can, I know this is a rhetorical question, maybe I'm asking and answer myself again, that when I'm talking about a reputational risk, it's like, how can anyone be able to recover that in a short-term manner in order to go move forward? I can only imagine what you have gone through with your wife, with your family. Your name is on the newspaper, and how people are conversing about you and how they treated you. I mean, am I right to ask this question to you? And how do you feel based on the way that you're currently being treated?
Well, as I said earlier, I don't know who asked me that question. I think first of all, you're shocked, you're surprised, and then second, you're really disappointed. It all converges to a huge disappointment, because in our business, as I said, there are 350 CEOs around the school districts. In our business, it's not uncommon not to get along.
Right.
I think when it gets to a point that you can no longer work together, I think we're at the level where you just, hey, we're all adults. You sit down and say, Dr. Kay, we can't work together anymore. Let's work on a separation plan here, and we'll do that. So I think it wasn't, as I said earlier, it wasn't really what happened that surprised me.
Okay.
It was the process.
All right. We'll talk about that process in a little bit after this break here. You're listening to the Kam Kay Show, and we'll be back.
980 WCAP.
So I'm still having this big Facebook Live here. So I've never been feel so speechless for a very long time. I'm just at awe. So So, how do you feel to be a grandfather for the first time?
I think it's probably one of the things that really helps deal with this whole thing.
I need you to say on air that due to technical issues, Teacher Voice Labor Matters will not be on the air tonight at 6:30. Instead, we're going to be giving you the Lowell Committee
Lowell City Council?
meeting at 6:30 live.
Okay. I think they have a council meeting tonight.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a joint meeting, I believe.
Yeah. Just say that on the air when I bring you back.
Arrow Container, not just a disposal service, family. Lowell Memorial Auditorium is proud to welcome Friends, the music.
My 3-year-old.
Friday, October 26th
You have a
at 8
3-year-old?
p.m. Friends, the music.
Where do they live?
He's in Georgia. Right. And
Yeah,
so-
we're lucky, they're only 2 hours, so this weekend we were there.
Wow.
We babysit for them because it was their anniversary. We said, go away. Take your time, enjoy it, we'll stay with it. We had a
Turner has sold more than 3 million albums. and
you wait until they learn how to talk. He called me yesterday on Facebook time. And he wanted me to talk to his great-grandmother. And so I was talking to his great-grandmother for a few minutes. The next thing I knew, he's like, said, "Love you, Papa." And he hung up. I think, being a grandparent is probably one of the most blessed.
so nice. You enjoy them, and when you're tired, you say, go to your mom.
Right. And it's like, it is so amazing. How you love your kids. You don't love your kid as much as you love your grandkids.
Well, because by that time your kids are older, they're on their own, and you can take care of them, so that the grandkids can
Right. Thank you, Cindy, and welcome back to the Kam Kay Show here on WCAP. It is now in the top of the hour at 6:03. Recently, during our break, my producer and technical awesome person, Cindy, have told me that we have some technical issue today. The United Teachers of Lowell session at 6:30 will not be happening. So they will be broadcasting the Lowell City Council meeting tonight at 6:30. So we apologize for that, and until we get that technical issue fixed, and then you'll be able to hear what the council member have to say. Speaking of a council member, let's get back to Dr. Kafawi, the schools, the Lowell Public Schools system superintendent, here with us today to talking about some of, I guess your reputation may have damaged beyond repair with the city itself, and I'm gravely disappointed that the majority of the member of the school committees have decided to drag you publicly to go through all of these. And on top of that, I think, in my opinion, is no one else but spearheading this whole atrocity scenario here than the city solicitor Christine O'Connell. I think, to my perspective, since her ascension to be the city solicitor, I've noticed that the city has never won any lawsuit. Any lawsuit that brought against the city, we lost. I don't know, I don't understand why that Kevin Murphy hired her and Eileen Donahue as the city manager continue to allow such an individual who cannot be able to do anything right. I guess that's taken back into two questions I have for you here, Dr. Kafawi. Number one is in regarding to, do you, to your knowledge, do you know whether the majority of the city council members supported you being here for you continuously to be the superintendent of the school system? Is number one. And number two, when we're speaking about Christine O'Connor as a city solicitor, there's some of the Lausanne has been reporting that it seems to be a communication issue between her and your lawyer. And I'm just going to go ahead and ask those two questions for now and allow you to address that.
Yeah, I think on the first question is that I know that prior to that July 18 meeting that we had at the school committee, I had received 7 out of the 9 city councilors called me to, we talked to each other and they expressed support and were very sad to see what was happening. Some of them know me personally. I had worked with them either as my bosses because they were mayors, 2 of them, and the others I had worked with them in the school committee. They were in the school committee prior, so some of them know me more than others, but generally I had interacted with all of them through my 3 years, so they were very saddened by that, and I know that they expressed their support very strongly, and they continue. I just had 3 of them calling me today, expressing their support and wishing me the best of luck. And so I think that answers my first question. I think with respect to the second question, I can only report what my attorney tells me, and because once you get into this position, your attorney really does the talking for you. And I know that he has been in constant discussion with the city solicitor. I know he reported to me via letter because I see the emails. They copy me on the emails exchange and so forth. That he had tried 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. He had tried verbally in a phone call to try to see, is everybody, both parties willing to sit down and try to resolve this amicably.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he also sent out a letter last week as well to do that. That's what happens on my side, and I'm aware of it because I see it happening and I see the interaction, and I get updated regularly by him as well on phone calls or whatever exchange of documents, whatever takes place. I can't really answer on their end because I don't talk to any one of them, and I have no idea, what's happening.
I'm glad you used the word trying to resolve amicably in terms of what they have done to you, but maybe the Lausanne does not report everything it says, which is true, but it doesn't appear to sound like very amicably, I can't even say the word anymore, in what we're looking at here. I mean, and then there's the Lausanne reported today that there was a gag order. It did not specify what type of gag order that the city had put. Was that gag order ordered by the city solicitor, or that gag order was given it directly to you, or is it to all the members of the teachers and your former staff not to talk to you, or vice versa, not allow you to talk to any one of them? Can you address that?
Yeah, sure. Right after the couple of days after the 18th, I received what you are calling the gag order, not to talk to anyone, any employee of the school system, which is over 2,000 employees.
Right.
That's fine.
Well, to me, it's not fine because, after all, you are the superintendent.
Well, I mean, one can argue that they put me on leave, so they didn't want me to interfere with the school system, and that, and then anyway, I didn't have any access to any communication anyway, email or phone or any of the sort.
It's like none of them have your phone number to call you anytime they want to. Okay.
So what happened? But then the stand from, because the UTL remained in contact with me, and from what I understand is there was an email that was sent out to all over 2,000 employees who received the email ordering them not to interact with me. And I believe, if I recall well, the UTL has even challenged the legality of that as being possibly a violation of First Right Amendment and the right to speak and the right of association. And
It is a violation for anyone that used to work for you or anyone to prevent anyone talking to you. And I mean,
so I think that's one things I don't know what you know. And then I know the UTL has challenged them. I know because they called me and asked me if I had any personal email that they could use to have people if they want to communicate with me, and they send it out to everyone. So I have not talked to anybody in the school system. You know, I don't think any, you know, don't want to get anybody in trouble either.
Right. So if Paul George got your personal email address and sent it out to all the teachers, isn't he part of the individual violating that gag order?
Well, he's not an employee of the school system.
Okay. So
He's the president of the UTL.
I know. I just want to make sure regarding to that one. So, but considering that, are they going to have a hearing with you this Friday?
Well, no, not Friday. I don't know. I haven't heard about Friday. What I heard initially, what my attorney told me, was to prepare for a hearing for tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Tomorrow, Wednesday.
What type of hearing are we expecting?
It's going to be. I'm exercising, or I should say, I'm not taking advantage of the privilege that they've given me of executive session.
Okay.
I will go public. I as I mentioned earlier, this whole process, these cases happen quite a few in the state. You know, like half a dozen of them haven't per year in the state. It's totally normal when you have 350 of us around the state, but usually you never hear of them because it's as your predecessor said on the radio, they're all handled, you know, as employee matters, personnel matters, they're handled confidentially. But I think the fact from that Friday, the 13th, when the motions were put publicly, one can argue that you have already pretty much decided it's going to be public.
Right.
Because, you know, it's as you said earlier, the damage is done, right?
Right.
So, and then I do know that following that several times on radio, on blogs, on news and so forth, on the floor, my name was constantly brought up and brought up and brought up and brought up. And so I didn't see any reason why we shouldn't have anything that we shouldn't have it public, number one, and number two, I have nothing to hide. I've never had nothing to hide from day one, and neither myself or anybody on my team that worked with me, and so we really don't have anything to hide. Let's go for public, and it was scheduled for tomorrow. I'm hearing through my attorney, just contacted me, looking my availability at other times because in his availability he said that they might be postponing tomorrow when he conveyed back to them, because I saw the email, 4 different dates that he's available, because obviously I'm not his only client. He's also
Right.
the attorney of the association, so he's extremely busy. And I guess I would know soon, either tonight or tomorrow morning, what is the resolution.
So what can we expect if this hearing here going to be in the next couple of days or tomorrow and all of that? What type of topic are we expecting to hear from the side of the school committee and your response from your lawyer and so forth?
Yeah, I think what you're going to hear is on August 24th, as the Lowell Sun had reported, a letter was sent to me with various allegations, and the purpose of a hearing is to respond to those allegations. And I know that my lawyer had made several requests for documents, and he had great difficulty getting them. At some point, he had to interfere with the state to complain to the state to help get these documents. So, and I think we finally got started getting these documents only at the end in September. And this thing has been going on since July 1st, but July 18th. And so, you know, he prepared the state, you know, his brief, as they call it, or his report, whatever his response on my behalf. And So you will see him most likely do his presentation. You'll see them doing. You'll see the city solicitor doing her presentation. And I don't know. She probably prepared it with the school committee, and I have no idea. I don't talk to any one of them, as I said. And I'm guessing that normally, you just like my attorney had to send me his response to approve. I'm guessing she has to send as well her response for them to approve, and so they probably be doing their presentation and of what they have as facts, and then we will be responding to the letter of the August 24th, which is the only thing we have to respond to anyway.
So again, that probably proved my point that Christine O'Connor is incompetent as you can be. That's just my opinion. You don't have to answer that. That's my observation in regarding to it. So once again, I wanted to go ahead and get a little bit clarity of what the expectations of this hearing process tomorrow. So the hearing process tomorrow is going to be, if it is going to be in public, you're going to be there representing by your lawyer, and then is the folks who's going to be in presence and doing that hearing, I presume is going to be all the members of the school committee. Okay, and as a result of that, let's say looking at the worst case scenario, they still vote to terminate you. Is that within their right to do so right there during the public arena, or?
My contract says that I have a right to a hearing. I have the right to get a public hearing. Following the hearing, the school committee will have to issue me a response in writing. So I'm guessing now that if they're going to hear me tomorrow, obviously they can't get the response tomorrow in writing unless
it's going to take at least 2 to 3 months.
Well, no, I hope not. I think we need to. I think what they could conceivably get a response quickly.
Or maybe already draft that letter already.
Then they would have to take a vote, because
right.
It is a school committee decision that involves 7 people who have to vote, and then they would vote on the letter, and they would vote on their conscience on determination whether they want to pursue that or not, and if they should, then they do, and if they don't, they don't. But I do know that as per my contract, process-wise, right after the hearing is over, they need to, of course, take into consideration my response, take it back, analyze it, and then determine whether they want to take it into consideration or not, and then issue me a response, their final decision in writing.
As to whether they're going to retain you as a superintendent or terminate you. Okay.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you this. I'm going to put you on spot. I think this is probably the toughest question I'm going to be asking you, putting you on spot here. Take a look at this scenario. I love to see you here being in Lowell. I think this is one of the greatest cities that I've known, with so many ethnicities and so forth. It just plethora of stuff to do here. If the school committee members come in and vote for, with a majority of 43, ask you to retain you as a superintendent, will you still be comfortable in executing, conducting and performing with the level that we know that you will, without having subconsciously having to looking behind whether somebody's going to pull out a samurai sword and trying to go after you?
Well, one thing is that if you talk to all 350 superintendents, I mean, our training, our experience, and so forth, we're trained to deal with the toughest of the toughest situation. We deal with it. I mean, it's, so in terms of training, yeah, we deal all the time with that. You can disagree with somebody, with the state, with the employee, with the principal, with the parent, whatever. But then you never put that disagreement, and you always look, because you got to focus on one thing: is what is best for the kids. That's my legacy. When I'm retired, when I'm dead, people don't remember me by anything other than what did I do for the students. That's really the legacy of any educator, whether it's a teacher or a principal. It's really what you did for the students. What good did you bring? So because of that, you can't allow any disagreement or any bitterness. I'm not bitter with anyone. I really am not. I think even the four that disagree with me, I have no bitterness toward them whatsoever. And so, that having said that, yes, of course you can work with people you don't agree with. However, I think there's got to be an understanding that and I'm not going to change my ways. My ways are going to be the same. I will continue, whether here or somewhere else, wherever I go. If you're appointed as the CEO of the schools, you take that very seriously, which is you're the CEO of the schools. The state has very strong regulations and laws that determine exactly what is your role and responsibility as the CEO and what is the role and responsibility of the board, of the school committee in this case. So you don't, if you respect those lines both ways, then I think you can work together. And then if you disagree on anything, you just sit down and say, we don't agree on this one. How are we going to work it out? And then you do try to work it out. So I think you can, but I will ask that people be honest. They recognize that you don't do these things. You can't be interfering with management. The state doesn't certainly, the laws don't authorize that, and common sense doesn't authorize that. So you got to draw the lines and a working relationship, whether it's here or anywhere else, wherever I go. I've been doing this, not the superintendency, but I've been an executive for over 30 years now.
I've noticed a lot of experience.
I've been blessed to become a young CEO when I was 30 years old. And I got to tell you, I go back, I worked in Bellerica in 2007. I go there and they still treat me as a part of the family. They invite me every one of their Christmas, party in town. It's because I've never had in my life ever had a bad evaluation.
Until now.
I didn't even now.
Really?
Because we never got to do the third evaluation. The only two evaluations I had in this city were both proficient in it or better.
That's why they gave you the pay raise. And that's why they gave you a contract.
That's why I'm kind of puzzled that if you disagree with someone, you tell them.
Right.
Tell them what is it that you disagree with them, and you work it out.
Right.
And you don't. I've had my disagreements with people. People around and fire principals right and left. You never do that. You have an issue with a principal. You just sit down and you say, hey, listen, we're two adults here, and we have to look at what we have in common. And what we have in common is that we both care about the success of students. So therefore, let's find a way how we can do that and help. Let's focus on what we have in common and not what we have as a difference.
Okay, we have a few minutes left here on the Kam Kay Show, and I wanted to express my appreciation for Dr. Kafawi coming on here to be able to ask and answer some of those questions that I have been very curious about. And so when I reach out to you and it's like, say, would you kindly come on here? I was like a kid in the candy land. It's like, say, yes, he finally, yes. I shouldn't say he finally, I said, yes. I'm so happy that you can be able to come here to be able to help shed some light to some of us who are puzzled or mind-boggling throughout the entire process. To me, my perspective on it, it looks like a child who cries so much to get a candy from the parents, and the parents already gave him the candy, and it's like said, look, I want and I still want more. I think that majority of that description, toward the member majority of the school committees that make that decision upon you. And I agree with you in terms of how they paraded you through the public mud to ruin your reputation. I think to me, in my perspective on that, it's more of a personal vendetta. I don't know. Did you not cut their grass when you were 15? I have no idea. But it's just mind-boggling. I think at the end of the day, my observation to your administrations, you've done your best. I know during the winter time there was some of the issues going on with the heatings and everything. I'm just like pulling my hair if I had any left for that one. But at the end of the day, I reserve my criticism to you to dictate I've invested to get that heating repaired, because you trust those folks, because you hired Miriam Bastide to be the head of school for Low High. And even though that I didn't think it was a good hire, but you know what? I was not out there publicly criticizing you. Reason being, like you have stated earlier, that's a personnel matter. Who knows more about Miriam Bastide than you? You the one that hired her. You the one that spoke to her. You the one that have the opportunity to speak to other members of the candidates for their positions. And by that right, you can make whatever the decision you need. But then again, rather than worry about, I think it's more of a personnel matter to me. I think they wanted to wrestle the power away from you so that they can be able to put anyone or hire anyone that they please. I mean, you choose to agree with me or disagree with me or say no comment at this time, which is good with me. And it's not about your performance so much. So who is in our lives have not made any mistakes? I know every successful decision that I made, 30 or 40 of those mistakes that have already been made. And I agree with you that it is time to sit down and talk about some of the issues through all of those turbulence that can be able to get these things resolved. And I salute you for focusing on the success of the school system and the success of our students than your personal well-being. I salute you for that. And I didn't expect that answer from you. I wanted to hear you, so I said, well, those guys are really something. Come on, Dr. Kam Kay, give me something here. Can I try to be a shock jock radio for once and you can help me a little? No. And you're just sitting there and smile. This, my personal observation, Dr. Kay, is to show that the true reflection of who you are. I just don't believe that you have an ounce of mental reservation to be out there to get rid of somebody because because they made a mistake, not underperformed, but made a mistake. Okay. And so, having said that, Cindy just signaled me it's time to go. So I wanted to go ahead and thanks Dr. Kay for being here on the show tonight. And for those of you guys, please keep tuned in to, if you're going to support Dr. Kay, please come out support him at a public hearing. So have a good night. This is Kam Kay Show on WCAP. Thank you, Dr. Kay.
Thank you very much.
Just popping in here quick to let you know that due to technical issues, Teacher's Voice Labor Matters will not be heard. Instead, we are going live to the City Council meeting.
And so